talking about, the family-owned businesses who actually, do businesses themselves. And so I didn't really cover that point, but I think that whoever, if they have a religious belief in a workplace, they have the right to express it.
All right, if we're discriminating between gay people or any other cause, wouldn't this set us back 100 years to?
Well, the key word is discrimination. We're not discriminating. We're basically saying they have the right to their religious belief.
Negative correction, please? Yeah, you can talk to it.
Okay, I'm going to start my speech now. So we believe it is wrong to deny service to same-sex patrons because of the following 3 main points that we compiled. Number 1 being that constitutional rights protect classes from discrimination in public accommodations. The second being that denying service to patrons conflicts with the government interest. And thirdly, there are multiple different ethical approaches that show that discrimination is not favorable in any society. Going back to our first point, that the constitutional rights protect classes from discrimination in public accommodations, you have the Civil Rights Act of 1946 as a good example whenever they forbade discrimination on the basis of race, color, religion, sex, or national origin in the areas of like hiring and promoting and firing employees. Secondly, there was the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, which expanded on which classes cannot be discriminated against. And thirdly, the 14th Amendment of our own Constitution gives equal privileges and protections. One part states that no state will be able to abridge the privileges and immunities of citizens, and another part states that no person can be denied equal protection of the laws. Our second point, denying service to patrons conflicts with government interests, can be proven with the Religious Freedom Restoration Act in 1993. It was an act to protect the free exercise of religion, and it said that the government shall not substantially burden a person's exercise of religion, even if the burden results from a rule of general applicability. The law provided an exception if 2 conditions are both met, and we will go over that later. Secondly, there was the for-profit corporations, and they can't exercise religion. So in the entire history of this country, there's not a single case in which a for-profit corporation was granted an exemption. And that's a quote from General Donald Burley. Thirdly, when businesses discriminate, they lose money. So it's crucial for them to not discriminate. That way they can actually be a business and bring in profit. The market contains powerful incentives for employers to make objective decisions based on merit, while government agencies face no such restraints. The free market has a racist fee, if you will. For example, an employer who refuses to hire, sell to, or deal with a class would be harming himself, limiting his market, and shrinking his own pool of available talent. And finally, discrimination incites violence, like in the 1950s and 60s, whenever there was a lot of segregation between blacks and whites. It just created all this animosity, and there was just random outbursts of violence and riots in the streets. So our third main point was that multiple ethical approaches show that discrimination is not favorable. The first one being utilitarian, which argues that you do best for everyone, the greatest good for the greatest number of people. Turning down business can potentially damage the economy and all who are invested in it. Secondly, there's egalitarianism, and it argues equality for all also. It says it's a social philosophy advocating the removal of inequalities among people. Each has the right to receive economic goods that satisfy his or her needs to the same extent, provided that they contribute to the economy according to their ability. Thirdly, there was the social contract that we should attempt to be fair. If a business is going to deny service to same-sex patrons for religious reasons, like such as sin, then in theory they should deny service to others frowned upon such sins frowned upon sins such as divorce or premarital sex. Otherwise, they're being unfair because they're saying which sins they tolerate and which sins they don't. And then there's also canteen ethics, which states that it's immoral to deny others respect. It is irrational and immoral to consider ourselves worthy of respect and deny others of such respect. And then finally, there's the deontological ethics, which is, basically the Bible tells us to love everyone. There's a specific number, there's only like 7 different Bible verses that say anything about homosexuality, and there are hundreds of different Bible verses that talk about loving everyone and being equal to all. So it denounces the religious side of that debate.
Would you agree that the United States Constitution is the supreme document of the land? Yes or no?
For the United States land, yes.
Yes. Do you think that freedom of religion should be protected for all citizens?
Yes.
Yes. Let's see. Would you say that money is the driving force behind all business, most importantly?
Yes.
Yes. Would you say that money ranks above, say, any type of moral or religious value? Say, ultimately businesses want to gain profits and make money.
That depends on the business.
Do you believe that giving same-sex couples the right to give money to businesses that inherently don't want to give them business, do you think that's hurting business?
If a same-sex couple gives money to a business,
Yes.
even though that business wouldn't normally offer them services, if they wouldn't give their money to them, they're not discriminating against people who are discriminating against them. It kind of shows them that they're being a bigger person.
So do you think that this is going to help the cause for equality if same-sex couples are consistently giving money to businesses that do not want to give them service?
If the same-sex couple continually gives money to a company that doesn't want to give them service, then they're saying, okay, that's fine that you're discriminating against me, but I'm not going to discriminate against you. So they're trying to stop the discrimination. So they're doing that. They're kind of setting a good example.
Do you think that Chick-fil-A will go out of business? Do you think Chick-fil-A will be affected if same-sex couples decide to keep giving them money? Because currently Chick-fil-A doesn't have the right to deny service to same-sex couples. If they did, that would be a huge chunk of money out of their pool. Are you okay with same-sex couples continuing to give money to Chick-fil-A if they are this huge, giant blanket of discrimination?
I wouldn't give my money to Chick-fil-A if I was a same-sex couple, or I don't go to Chick-fil-A anyway, but if a gay person wants to give money to them, then I'm not going to judge them because they like Chick-fil-A business. Like, that's not my...
Chicken nuggets are good.
Yeah.
Are you aware of a New York Times survey that says that they surveyed like maybe 50 or 60 just business owners? I'll go into it in a second.
We have some negative impact. Negative tax up for comments.
Oh, my bad.
You'll help us if you want.
Use a moral support. You'll get one second. Whenever you're ready. What's that?
This is starting my speech.
Yeah.
Religious Freedom Restoration Act. An act to protect the free exercise of religion. The government shall substantially burden a person's exercise of religion, even if a burden results in a rule of general application. Any person has the right to exercise religion, whether you're gay, black, white, in between, it doesn't matter. Everyone has the right because you are a human. But the burden is this only made on the two conditions that the burden must be necessary for furtherance of the compel of government interest. This is the only reasons why the government has the reason to stop it. Freedom of religion for any person is under two conditions. The first was for burden must be necessary for the furtherance of compelling government interest. And the second clause of this rule or act is that was passed in November 1993 was the rule must be least restrictive way in which the furthers the government interest. Both mandatory and environmental programs intend to affirm the Civil Rights Act and designate classes of individuals by taking positive action to protect them. Positive action to protect the people that are discriminated against, as in such cases as the Affirmative Act, which is a Civil Rights Act to protect against minorities in America. Our second point is, that goes along with this point, is that for-profit corporations don't exercise religion. As a corporation is not a person. They don't have the property or the rights as a person to exercise a religion. Just because you are a corporation or just because you own your own business doesn't mean that you have the right to pass your religion on to another person. As explained in earlier this year, 2004, that in the entire history of this country, there was not a single case for which for-profit corporations were granted an exemption from this bill. My second point is that the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission expands on which cases were not discriminated against. Equal Employment Commissions, or the ESSOC, enforces laws that prohibit discrimination on basis of race, color, religion, sex, national origin, disability, or age in hiring, promotion, firing, setting wages, testing, and training, apprenticeships. So this just brings out for all minorities or anyone that can be discriminated against, that this actually does help against the discrimination. Because discrimination incites violence to the people. Let's look back into earlier in our country, into the late 50s, early 60s, we have a civil rights movement from North Carolina, A&T College. It was an all-black college in the 50s. And on 1960s, February 1st, it was a riot that broke out because black citizens or black students at this university were not able to eat at a local luncheon because it was for only white people only in an all-black college town. The black students, they didn't do anything but sit at the counter and have a sit-in. And this led to violence being brought into these people that did anything but instead of be peaceful. The same can be brought upon the people today that would allow discrimination to happen against gay people. All black colleges would push for gay rights. If we discriminate now, discriminating is the past, we would push for gay rights and all black colleges would push for these gay colleges.
Okay, so if businesses themselves choose to turn away customers and lose profit, like, why would you let them?
Because
Because they're hurting themselves when they lose customers.
as if I hurt you, I'm hurting all the people. Like if one business hurts, the whole economy hurts as a whole. The United States is a free market, but we still rely upon each other. As we pay taxes, all things are brought back to each other.
You focus mainly on big corporations, but at the same time, you don't focus anything on the smaller businesses and the places, because yes, it does on a whole scale it would affect large corporations, but in a small scale pertaining to smaller businesses, in reality is they're choosing to make that active sacrifice to sacrifice their business. So why, in reality, they're making that active decision and they're actually being so, they feel so discriminated against, or at least not willing to give that service, why force them? That's basically forcing them to do something that they don't want to do based on their beliefs and discriminating against them.
To the earlier point of my bad.
I mean, it's basically contradicting both by saying that they're being discriminated against, and in reality, it's not, it's going either way. It isn't.
All right, to the beginning of your question. As big businesses, they do own a percentage of the market. They own the majority part of the market, which would be affected if they would allow for anyone to discriminate against gay people. It's a problem as a whole and not just small businesses versus big businesses. It's gay rights over all businesses. Not just one particular small businesses, big businesses, all businesses have the same rules and the same rights.
So, you said that religious groups are kind of discriminating against the gay people, but do you think that there is a chance that the gay people are actually discriminating against the religious groups?
Motivate on that every time.
We didn't clap in our debate.
We were so
They didn't
astounded by
No,
it.
not at
Yeah,
all.
but you guys are a lot of questions from those people.
We were just really astounded by the
All right.
basics of the speech.
Affirmative text.
Let's keep rolling here.
How long is this?
4 minutes.
Fine, it's okay. First off, I apologize, I didn't know civil rights was going to be included within the discussion as much as it was. But first, I would like to attack the claim that this is discrimination against gays. This is not an anti-gay type of resolution. This is a religious freedom resolution. to an even further level, using the same logic, the prospect of saying no to this resolution would actually be a form of discrimination against the religious practices of several of our Americans who really just want to practice their own belief system. To claim that one type of discrimination overweighs another type of discrimination, that's logically unsound. And even though business owners across most of the United States, I think my opponents think that they might actually actively go against gays if this resolution were to pass. In a poll conducted by the New York Times, they polled several business owners and asked them, what's most important to your business? Is it upholding any type of moral values or religious freedoms, or is it profit? And overwhelmingly, we found out that it was profit that actually leads these businesses to conduct all the things that they do. Meaning, to combat what we were saying in the Q&A session, if gay couples didn't give business to these companies, that would in turn hurt the businesses, which in turn might even help this gay cause. Attacking the claim that forcing companies to deny same-sex marriage would be an ample waste to businesses. Like I said before, companies don't speak English, they don't speak Spanish, they don't speak other languages. They speak one language, that language is money. They all working to get money and all working to get sales, and that really is the main ammunition for why businesses conduct their practices. And if same-sex couples want to continue to give their money to those businesses, I don't think that's actually hurting them, that's actually helping them. And also, the majority of businesses weren't going to, they wouldn't actually say no to same-sex couples. Since it is such a huge deterrent on their own finances and their own wages, they're not going to do that. Like I said, they only care about one thing, and most of that thing is money. Also, just to attack the civil rights claim, I don't think that the African American struggle for equality after several years of slavery, more than several actually, hundreds of years of slavery, can be said to be akin to the struggle that gay couples face to have services at these companies and institutions. And also, we talked about several points about the economy and the free market. We need to ensure that companies can remain in control of themselves. Think of this example for if a wheelchair person wanted to play paintball. And there is a new bill came out that said that you have to accommodate all people and everyone has to be services. There's no way to logically accommodate somebody in a wheelchair to actually be able to play the same game of paintball. And it really is just slippery slope in that whenever we stop business from regulating for our religious freedoms, it's just going to open up a whole travesty of different regulations as far as not allowing business to truly act the way they want to act. Also, this doesn't really attack the freedoms of gay patrons, because really you have to look at the actual definition of the word freedom. Freedom is not just a freedom to do what's socially acceptable or to do something that you think might be right or morally tuned. Freedom is the freedom to do whatever you want to do, whether it's good or bad, honestly. And, it's going to say that a certain business can't go against same-sex couples if they really have that notion to do so with their religious acts. That's almost anti-freedom. And really, we're not trying to say discrimination is right by any case. All we're trying to do with our case is say that freedom is the most important thing in this debate. And really, I think that my opponents have neglected to fully answer the question of, does this really impact the freedoms of these businesses? So, that's my time.
Okay. All right, so what do you hope to accomplish by denying same-sex patrons service?
I actually, with denying same-sex couples, with denying the same-sex patrons the right to services, this is actually more helping same-sex couples than anything. When same-sex couples stop giving money to these corporations who inherently do not want to serve them, it's forcing those corporations to actually look at them and say, wow, either we change our whole mindsets about how we approach same-sex couples, or we're all going to be bankrupt. Like you said before, if truly these businesses are going to go bankrupt if same-sex couples don't go, let them do that.
Sorry, I'm going to interrupt you there. So I get what you're saying for the gay patrons and how you think that it's accomplishing them to not do your service, but how does it benefit a business?
How does it benefit a business?
Yeah, are you trying to make a point that sin is bad and simply discourage the act? Because your main thing was religious freedom. So are you hoping that by denying their service that it'll change their behavior?
They'll change who's their business
The gay
behavior.
patrons, are you hoping that by saying, hey, we can't let you participate in our business because this is a sin, are you hoping that this will change their mind, that they'll become more religiously inclined?
Who, the businesses or the same-sex couples?
I'm wanting to know what the goal of the business is by denying these people service. What point are you trying to make? What are you trying to do?
The businesses are just trying to upkeep their own religious principles.
Well, how will denying service accomplish the goals that you have?
Which goals did I?
Okay, for instance, we mentioned that businesses want to profit, right?
Mhm.
You say that money, that gay people are giving the money. Won't the money that they give to another business that supports gay patrons' rights be used to work directly against what you're trying to accomplish due to your belief system? Why not have the money go ahead and serve your belief system and not the competitors?
Maybe not.
The business wants to make money, so why are you turning down money? How does denying service go toward your business goals of making money, as you said businesses are for?
Right, but your resolution is, your stance is saying that you would like same-sex couples to be allowed to go to any company that they like. I'm basically saying that. Okay.
Yes. Am I good? Oh, affirmative, done. Okay, so then you defend, and then I go after that?
Yes.
It's gonna take your place, and it's gonna fight demons.
Okay, so discrimination is a heavy word. It's a terrible thing. We're throwing it around a lot. But the simple fact of the matter is that you're protected from discrimination, segregation, general hate crimes. But this is simply not a case of that. This is simply a matter of conflicting religious beliefs between two people. As long as there's no intent to cause harm, the United States government should protect the business's right to do this. The beautiful part about this country is that you do have a lot of freedoms. You have the freedom to be gay. You can do whatever you want that way. But you do not have the freedom to just get business and a product or a service from any company or anyone you want to. That is not a protection that you get from the Constitution or anything. And the process of having the law changed or altering the Constitution is so dismal that for this particular case, which is in the broader spectrum of things, a relatively small number of circumstances that this happens, it would just not be necessary. So for every rare occasion that a gay couple might get their business refused, there's hundreds, if not thousands, of other companies that they can take their business to. That's the beautiful part about America. And if you flip the situation around, let's say you had a judge who was being legally forced to marry a gay couple. That is not, and it's conflicting with their religious beliefs 100%. That would also be completely wrong, and that's a direct violation of the First Amendment. To quote the author of the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, "I have to give credit to the opponents who've managed to turn this into some sort of a discrimination bill against gays. Couldn't be further from that. People need to be able to exercise their religion freely in this state." So, and then he goes on to say that, and now we've moved into a world of perception as opposed to reality, because you're perceiving this as discrimination when really the reality is people aren't always going to have the same religious beliefs, and you need to learn to live in a world where they're going to conflict, and you need to learn how to peacefully accept that and take your business elsewhere. Being an American provides you with freedoms that you cannot get in other areas of the world. I mean, try going to Iran or Iraq and being gay, it's not the same at all. So you are not legally protected to get services from anyone and everyone everywhere. Business owners have enough regulations to deal with as it is. Do we really want to legally tell them who they can and cannot work with based on their religious beliefs? No. And if they want to lose business, they can. If they can't afford to, then they won't. This isn't racism or segregation. It's a pretty small number of instances, and it's easily fixable if we can just learn that we need to just respect people's religion and their sexuality, and as long as there's no intent to do harm to anyone, you just gotta move on. The important thing is that our nation's mindset overall towards homosexuality is changing for the better. This is an era of acceptance, and every day people are learning more and more to celebrate the institution of love, no matter who it's between. So even if you don't personally agree with it, it's not discrimination, it's not illegal, and people are allowed to deny you business if they don't believe what you're saying, or believe in same-sex marriages. Hate crimes are illegal for a reason, they're terrible, but refusing service because it conflicts with your religion, it's not a hate crime by any definition, it's not discrimination, it's not segregation, and there's plenty of other real discrimination and segregation issues going on around the world that are much more prevalent than these pretty small number of circumstances.
All right, Nate again.
Yes.
Okay. So one of the main questions that we were trying to ask earlier is why are you wanting to deny same-sex patrons service? How does that benefit you? What is that going for? One of the things that you did mention in your topic was religious freedom. You also went over later the Religious Freedom Restoration Act. So first I'll start with the Religious Freedom Restoration Act. It is true that it does say in here that government shall not substantially burden a person's exercise of religion, even if the burden results from a rule of general applicability. However, like we mentioned my team earlier, there's actually two conditions that can both be met to meet an exception in this situation. First, the burden must be necessary for the furtherance of compelling government interest. Under strict scrutiny, a government interest is compelling when it is more than routine and does more than simply improve government efficiency. A compelling interest relates directly with core institutional or constitutional issues. The second condition is that the rule must be in the least restrictive way to further the government interest. One thing I want to remind you guys of is the affirmative action, which refers to both voluntary programs intended to affirm the civil rights of designated classes of individuals by taking positive action to protect them. So as it says earlier, basically we can actually go over someone's religious freedoms or do something that might be against someone's religion if it is for the furtherance of a compelling government interest. You guys did mention earlier that businesses are for money. We have a free market, although technically it's a mixed market because the government is involved. A complete free market would mean that the government is completely not involved. So we are a mixed market. Therefore, the government does have some say-so in how business runs. And for you guys to go against that, we'd have to completely redo a lot of the way that our economy works right now. I do agree that businesses, one of their main things is to bring in money. That is what our economy strives off of, one of the main things that keep America going. I feel that it is a core constitutional issue for, let's see here, or it would be bad for businesses to turn down money because it would be harming their business, obviously, to turn down profits. And then that, of course, would go against a core constitutional issue. And so therefore, I think it is okay in this situation to say it is okay for us to make your business basically serve gay patrons. The other thing that I want to go against is the religious aspect of it. You guys mentioned earlier, somehow it's going against some religion. Normally I would ask what religion is it that it goes against. And most people in this case would say Christianity. And if that's the case, it does say it is a sin to be homosexual. It's an abomination. However, it does not say that it is a sin to serve gay patrons. So I'm kind of confused as to how we are forcing you guys to go against your religion. We're not forcing you to have sex with another man or another woman, simply service. And Jesus, even in the Bible, if you guys use the Bible with your religion, he actually washes the feet of a prostitute. So he is serving someone who is considered a sinner. So aside from that, it would be unfair. We went to the ethical standpoint of it earlier. If you guys are going to deny one person for being a sinner, there are plenty of other sins that are out there that we can also choose to not serve. It wouldn't make sense for me to I could just make up a religion in that case and say, you know, I am completely against little children, you know what I mean, and I'm not going to service them at my hospital. Or I am completely against, or we can go back in history and say my religion says it's okay to discriminate against black people. Well, that's not okay, even though my religion says it. The overall consequences or the cons of the situation do not outweigh the pros. Therefore, the government does have the right to step in and say, I'm sorry, but we can't allow you to discriminate in this particular way. Let's see if there's anything else about here. Discrimination is considered the definition of it is the unjust treatment of different categories of people or things. You mentioned money is going against their cause. Well, you know what? It would be more to your benefit if you went ahead and accepted their money and put it in. It would benefit you, but if a gay person wants to give you their money, they're way more pros. Okay.
Okay. Okay, so obviously stating that we are going to be for the right of refusing service because of our religious beliefs, but certain things that were brought to the attention. Mainly y'all stayed on the aspect that it would be large businesses, but you feel it basically made most of your argument made it sound like it was more service industry, like small hand stuff, like going to a retail store, doing anything as far as getting like an average service. But also service would be entailing, obviously if you're a state judge and you go to the justice of the peace and you want to go get married as a same-sex couple and it's legalized there in whatever state you're in, that's by the law that you're compelled by the state to marry them, even though it's against your religious beliefs. It's also, there's been controversy in California about a doctor who knows that it's going to be a same-sex couple, and since she was the OBGYN, she was compelled by her, doctor rights or whatever it's called, to artificially inseminate the woman, and she said it was against her religious beliefs, and she did not want to do it. So she basically wanted the right to deny and defer, and that's what we're saying. If you don't want, as a business, if you don't want to serve a certain person because of their sexual orientation or who they choose to be around or anything, you can defer their business and just let it affect you in whatever way and not let it be an issue. Also, as far as losing money, if your business really feels strongly enough that it's violating their religious freedom to deny them service, then let them reserve that right. It doesn't mean you can physically force someone to go in. And as a gay patron, why would you want to support their business in any way, regardless if it is going to be a bigger gesture and saying that you're not discriminating, regardless you're either solidifying whatever views that they do have or just adding it out to the fire, really. It's also imposing, if the state forces religious institutions, because it is also institutions as well. If someone wants to get married in a church and the church does not support it, then is the state going to come in and force them to marry in that church just because they don't? Because that's considered discrimination. And yet also in the 1064 Act in Nevada that was just vetoed, actually, majority of it was created and stated in the media that it's a discrimination bill and act, but in reality they were just trying to redefine different aspects of the term marriage within the law, so different religious institutions will be able to support that, as well as it's just basically trying to prevent other people from imposing different beliefs on them that they're not really wanting to. And also for private organizations, like if you were to go to a club and you were to say, clubs have the right to deny access into their institution based on how you look, how you dress, your overall appearance, how you act. And it's basically the same thing. If someone's going to be doing something that inherently goes against the institution's beliefs or moral codes, then they do have the right to turn away and say no.
Won't the money they give to another business that supports gay patrons' rights be used to work directly against what you are trying to accomplish due to your belief system? Why not? Why not have the money serve your belief system and not the competition's? Have you considered other actions you can take that would better serve your belief system by not denying service, thus creating a better relationship with these patrons? Have you considered that they would have more respect for you and be more willing to listen? And so in conclusion, we would like to point out that denying service to same-sex patrons is not only immoral but unconstitutional. Allowing allowing such an act would initiate violence, harming multiple people of all genders, sexual preferences, and perhaps races. Businesses who serve same-sex patrons are not themselves committing acts of homosexuality. Denying your business to gay people is an act of anti-sin, as the Religious Act of Freedom would see it. It is a subjective perspective of religion. While claiming that this is not a case of discrimination, it is mirroring the pre-civil rights movement when whites used religion to justify their acts of slavery and torture against blacks. So from the perspective of a free market, businesses are made to serve the general public. They advertise, promote, and market everywhere, making their services available to anyone who came across their information, including homosexuals. Never have I come across an advertisement that declares, come and eat our nuggets, and then says, unless you're gay. And so, overall, focusing on the issue as a whole, I would believe that denying services is unjust, violating the right of equality that our evolving nation has founded itself on for hundreds of years.
You all join me in thanking the debaters one more time. Thank you all. Wonderful job. Folks, stick around for the next meeting. Shovel in, shovel out. Okay, we agree.
Take a shot.
Over 10.
Yes.
Well, you know the fruit of keep asking.
Let me see.
Okay. I really am. That's okay. Yeah. But I'm throwing it in there.
Okay, yeah.
You will have some of that that you've already like done stuff on or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry for cheering on.
Were you like having a panic?
Next debate games, where y'all at?
What's up?
Come on down. Yeah, I got all the sin debates.
Yeah, and that's why we're like, this is based on ethics and morality, it's just really hard.
Yeah, no,
What was your first I just debated all.
If y'all fill those out with your name, your speaking music, and your team. Close sheet for you.
Did you say wait?
Services to be or anyone else that's confidential.
He was wondering why you didn't do it.
Thank you for helping us.
Hey guys, you said fill in your name, TA. Yeah, I get extra credit.
Yeah. Do I get extra credit for being here?
Huh?
Do I get extra credit for being here?
Do I get extra credit?
Did you write it up? Can you make a connection to gender?
I don't know about that.
Hey, you just watched one of you want sexuality.
Yeah, we're just kidding.
Okay. It doesn't have to have anything to do with it. Make you connect. He said, yeah.
That'll be good. Although we'll make an impression on our audience.
Actually,
Where is there?
We buy contractor.
yes, yes, but should we start point that out?
Yeah, okay.
Think about that.
And I'm just answering on her part.
Oh, great, thank you.
It's fine, I'm not too worried about it, honestly. Like, don't even worry about it.
Yeah.
I can't really read this.
So sure, if you're not situated. I will say this on the other days.
Go Team Girls.
One thing.
Yeah. You got this.
Thank you.
Team Girls. Don't get so far.
I just don't have anything else to say.
The one thing.
I didn't make it.
To your own. Don't get so flustered.
They say it's like the video.
No.
Have you seen the video? I've logged in. And this is my
Oh
login.
my gosh.
No, we didn't view it. I didn't.
Yep, we can't even form one. We just can't.
We don't have confessions. Can we call Canada?
Yeah, change the phone number.
I knew as soon as I was like, oh, I just. The minute they started listening. And they're, I mean, I guess if you ask a real job. Wait, and I'm not ready.
Wait, so we have it in color?
No, call it.
Call it. Make sure that they press it or whatever you need.
Or give us her login, we'll get her login.
Kill side.
Wait, can I go to Jelly?
Hey, so you made your video private, we
I
can't
knew
watch
that's what
it
you were coming to ask.
because it's private. It's not made to see, to be seen by the public. So what's your login?
Yeah, that's probably half.
Okay, so explain.
I get arrested for it.
They're all around, so they're all around us.
Sophie?
Oh, no, but
Sophie?
Thanks for coming.
do you want me to?
Yeah.
Okay, like Sungo? What?
Do you need Benadryl on your person?
On my actual.
Oh, hell yes.
So they have regulation use of drugs, right?
Yeah.
She's a doctor. She can-
Favorite
Yeah.
Do we get?
At gmail.com.
Okay.
And that was a good move.
They do that when they about that. And they speaks that. The week, I think I was in the top half on their rhythm is.
Is it a capital F?
Capital FGO09.
The font third and font.
Oh, I got it. Yes. Wait, minutes. I've got Claritin. I've got Claritin too.
Oh, there. Yes,
Yeah.
I'm not saying
That's fine. Okay, bye.
Eric, and today we are debating. The resolution is this House believes Texas should legalize recreational marijuana. I'm sure everyone's favorite topic. On the affirmative, we have Kylie Ince, Kinsey Muckway, Tierra Kincaid, and Cheyenne Morrison. The negative, we have Catalina Torres, Chandler Swain, Bazar Jelani, and Jenna Fields. All right, we'll go ahead and get it out. Yes, you can.
Or you're just.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, 30 seconds, and I was gonna stop the timer.
Yes.
Alright.
Whenever you're ready.
Hello everyone, I'm Kinsey Muckway. On behalf of my debate team, we, the affirmative, propose that the state of Texas should legalize the recreational use of marijuana for the sake of economic benefit in this situation. Recreational marijuana use is currently illegal in all but 2 states, as I'm sure you all know, Colorado and Washington. However, several states are moving toward this direction, and this promotes a rising need to change this current law. We all know that our economy could benefit due to the $17 trillion of federal debt that we find ourselves in, according to Forbes in 2013. Although the economy in Texas is comparably stronger than other states, the federal deficit still has profound effects on Texas. The availability and